Hi, this is Angela from Clark VO Services, and if you guys watch anything I put up on YouTube, it's never the technical stuff. Because you know what? I don't love the technical side of voiceover. It is a necessity, right? I learn it because I have to, but that's usually why I don't teach it. It's not where I don't get lost in pleasure on the technical side of voiceover. I know some people do. But I have been working with voice artists for a while, and I've been helping some get established in long-form narration. I do a lot of that, and that includes e-learning and audiobooks, podcast dramas, things like that. So instead of answering questions one-on-one with the artist that I'm working with, I thought I'd just put together this video that you can all watch at your own leisure. And if you're not somebody that I work with, well, you're welcome to benefit as well. But I'm going to talk about narrating your files in a real clean, easy style. I think first, having a good quality place to work from is first and foremost the most valuable thing you can do for yourself. It doesn't have to be a whisper room studio like I'm in. I started out with PVC pipes and packing blankets and pillows on the floor, and I had super good sound in there. It was great until I was able to grow my business and work from a whisper room. But it's not necessary, especially when you're just getting started, right? I do have a shotgun microphone. I do recommend that because it is really like a shotgun, right? It picks up. It's not going to pick up everything outside, like maybe road noise or the washer going downstairs, or some microphones that are amazing aren't going to work in your PVC pipe and packing blanket studio. A shotgun mic, you can really just hone in on you, so it's just picking up you instead of too many things from around you. So there is my non-technical voice artist technical advice. So let's get started on the details, though. On a daily basis, I often will deliver 2 to 3 hours of long-form narration. Now, I know the companies that I'm working for, these are for long-established companies I've worked for quite a while. I know exactly what they want. So I've really got this down pat. But there's no reason that you can't get it down as well. It should flow really easy for you. So we're going to cover the recording basics, right? I just talked about your mic and soundproofing. We're also going to cover how to mark your files, how to do batch processing, and just some quick editing tips that you're going to need for this particular client that we've all been working with. Now, this client is it's podcast narration, it's podcast dramas. So these files, although I ask that you edit them to the ACX requirements, keep in mind they will be forwarded on to an editing team that will then edit and master them again. They'll add sound effects and background music and make it like those old-time radio shows that we used to hear as children. So these podcast dramas are a big deal all around the world, and they're a good source of regular income when you can get established in them. And so my job is to help you make this an easy process, okay? So let's get started. Okay, so I've switched screens a little bit, and as you can see, this is my DAW. I do use Adobe Audition. It is a monthly fee. I know there's other DAWs out there that people love, and they're great. You work with what you're comfortable with. I did start out with a free one, and as I grew and realized I just needed a little more, the Adobe was what I chose to work with because I like to use several of the programs that they have. So I am recording. Let's see. I am at just over 2 hours with this recording. But if you'll see here, I have put markers in to my file. This is the beginning and ending, right? This marks each episode or chapter that I have recorded. And as you can see, you know from doing these shows that they have asked us not to record the title or the episode number, which can get confusing. I'm not sure why they've chosen to do that, but that's the way they want it. But I do record the episode number when I am recording the script, as you can see here. 1269. Okay, that's episode 1269. I do have it written. I do have it recorded there. But notice the marker. All right. When I go out here, you can see all of my markers. Now, these last 2 episodes, you can see all these big lines on the screen. That is where I used my dog clicker to mark. I do for other projects, I will do punch and roll. That's a thing that I can offer studios like that. Studios that want that, that's what they get. But for this studio, since they go back in and they're doing editing on their own and adding in the background, the sound effects and the background music and stuff, if you're brand new and you've not ventured into learning the punch and roll system, this little dog clicker works just fine, and it's not an issue for them. All right, so I use the dog clicker. Whenever I made a mistake, I just click and fix my mistake and keep going. Then I start at the end of the file and work my way back, because sometimes I make that same mistake 2 or 3 times. So I want to, start from the end and work my way back. I also, if you notice, I did take care of all of the corrections as I read. Usually at the end of a chapter, I will stop. It gives me a chance to rest my voice for a minute anyway. And it also, I like to make the corrections right away. I know some people like to narrate for long amounts of time and then go back later and take out, make their corrections. But I find that when I have just read it, I'm more familiar with it, and I know what mistakes I made. Sometimes I'll reread something and make a mental note that I'm not sure which take I like the most. But if I went back and edited that the next day or an hour later, I wouldn't remember that. It wouldn't be as fresh in my mind. So that's just me knowing how I work best. So at the end of each episode or chapter, I simply put that marker in there, and then I go back and go through and edit these. And I'm going to take these out real quick. Her limelight seemed to be a little... By the looks of it, her limelight seemed to be a little... All right? And as you do this, you actually get to recognize the waveform. Regardless if it was shooting for fame... Regardless of shooting for fame or being at the very bottom. Notice how this waveform on the right, this little piece of waveform here on the left, it looks the same. It's probably the same thing, right? You've worked together. They knew the strengths of the... They were all from the training unit. Oh, I went too far. They knew the strengths of the guards. Being from the same training unit, they knew the strength of the guards. Okay, so this file is now, I've taken out all of my mistakes, right? As you can see, when I zoom out, this file has not been edited to meet the ACX requirements. I have a just over 2 hour file, and I know for some people this is the hard part now, but this is really what I wanted to show you. Okay, so set up your presets. So I have right here, it's my parametric equalizer, my dynamic processing. I've set those up. I just hit that. I've saved it to favorites. I hit one and I hit apply. That's it. Now, this takes a smidge longer because it's a very long file. If you're processing shorter files, of course, it is much faster, and I will speed this up for editing purposes. I go up here to loudness. I pull that over, and I make sure that my target loudness is negative 23 dB. This is to make sure it's meeting those ACX requirements. Now, it's already... There might not be. Sometimes there's not much of a difference because you've recorded at the appropriate levels, loudness levels to begin with. And then my second, the number 2 favorite, right, is I use RX9. If you don't have that, it is something you have to buy, but it is an absolute lifesaver. And when we're doing audiobooks or podcast dramas or anything like this, I mean, you're being paid on an hourly rate. You want to be able to produce. So this is worth whatever you need to pay for it to get a very good quality plugin that is going to, I use the mouth declick and the voice denoise from RX. Changed my life, right? I can't promote that enough. They don't pay me. I'm just telling you, I would not work without it. And then I use a hard limiter because that is what is required for ACX. And I just hit apply. All right, so that is processed, and this now meets the ACX requirements. And if you want to check, you can scan it. Let me show you that again. I went up here, clicked these little buggers right here at the top of the screen. Clicked on loudness again and go down here and on your left side of your screen and click scan selection. And there you have the standard ACX requirements. Now, if you really doubt yourself, ACX also has a place where you can check to make sure that your files meet the ACX standards. It's, I believe it's called ACX Studio or something like that, but it's on their website. Of course, I know I've sent the link out to many of you. That it is a free way to check your files and make sure they meet those ACX requirements. So, for the batch processing, as you can see now, this looks like it has hit that hard limiter because it looks like a block there. But you can still see my marker lines in there, right? This is vital. And you want to make sure when you're batch processing, you have a marker at the very beginning. Oops. And a marker at the very end, which it looks like I may not. I do not. So I'm going to hit M and put a marker in there. Now, I took a 2-second piece of room tone, I just recorded room tone, and I put a marker right there at 1 second. Because with these files, they ask that you have about a half a second to 1 second of room tone at the beginning and end of each file, right? So I just make this little file right here of 2 seconds, put a marker in at 1 second, copy that, and then I go back here to... Oops, wrong file. That's what happens when you have a couple open. Then I go back here to my files. And remember, I recorded the title of the episode number. And that's because I will go insane if I sucked if I have to work with all of these files and I don't have the episode number represented somehow, right? So,
1269.
This was episode 1269. I play
12.
it, and then I highlight that whole section and paste. It has pasted my marker then exactly where I need it, giving me a second of room tone before the story starts. I will then right-click on this on the marker and click Rename Marker. And that is 1269. And then scroll out and right back in.
1270.
1270. All right. I will go through and do all of these. Now, I'm going to cut this out so you guys don't die of boredom watching this video.
1271.
All right, and we are coming up to the last one. And just because I have to, I always label it end. And come over here and select all of your files on this little left side of the screen. And make sure you hit this right here, Merge Selected Files. And you simply come up here to Export, Export Audio within Range Markers. And since I've done this a million times, it already goes to the correct location. It saves right to my folder. At the settings that I already have set up. You can label each one. So this story is, I labeled it Love Contract. That's part of the title. And then I labeled these markers, the chapter numbers or the episode numbers. So in my folder, it will look like this right here, Love Contract _1269. So it is all organized once it goes to the folder. I simply hit export and I'm done. And all of the files are in my correct folder and ready for me to send on. It is simply that easy. Doesn't take any time hardly at all. I mean, it is a breeze. Now, if I'm doing an audiobook actually for ACX or for an author, or I'm doing, another type of project. This video was meant for the project that you guys are currently working on. But if I'm doing an audiobook, I will go back through before I export my files, right? I will go back in and like right here, I would have, make it bigger so you can see. Right here's a mark, right? You can see that. I would get rid of that. I would listen to some larger breaths to make sure they sound okay. With audiobooks, you don't want to take them all out. And especially with these particular stories. Let them alone. You don't need to go back in and remove them because remember, this is the first round of editing. What I am mainly concerned about is you getting a nice clean read with no extra background noises, right? And that it meets the ACX requirements because this is the first round of editing. It will then move on to a new editing team that goes through and does all the special effects. So don't get too hung up. I literally never go back through and remove any breaths. With my denoise, with my plugins, I don't even worry about these little things right here that you would see. So that is the major difference between this project and your typical audiobook project that you would be working on. So the whole point of this video is to help you guys be able to speed up your process to make this more profitable for you. I want you to be comfortable with the project and understand what is expected of you. All right? Now, if you have any questions, anytime, please reach out to me. If you've worked with me at all, you know I try to make myself available to you whenever you need me. So please message me, email me, text me, however it's convenient for you, but reach out to me and I will gladly work through the process. The whole point of these contracts is to get you comfortable with contracts like this. You learn a lot about breath control. You learn how to read ahead in a script. You learn how to do maybe different character voices. You learn sometimes how to read a poorly translated script, right? I know plenty of you have dealt with that. I have dealt with that as well. So I know what you're going through. But this project is a stable way to make some money, but it is also a great way to learn and improve your skills. And when we have worked together long enough, then I start promoting you elsewhere and start working on other projects that are uh, more profitable. Other projects that maybe are long term as well. My whole purpose is to help you grow in the industry. So it starts here. All right. So any questions? You know where to find me.